Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa. Wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina astafa amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. Welcome back to day 27 of the viral Spirituality Bites. I hope everyone had a very good 27th night of Ramadan. Hope it was very Mubarak and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you a lot of tawfiq to make a lot of dua and a lot of ibadah. And if there were any Quran khatams, hope that you kept this needy slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your du'as and also the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember, Ramadan is not over yet. Many people, when they think that the Quran khatam is done, let's say in the masjid, during Taraweeh, etc., they feel like Ramadan is basically done and they start relaxing. Whereas there are still at least 3 full days of Ramadan left. Right? And each day of Ramadan is very precious. And we've gotten to a certain point through fasting, of 26, 27, 28 days. And we're at a stage where our hearts have become soft through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we want to be able to mold them in the shape that we want them to come out on the other side of Ramadan now. And this is the time when you want to start inculcating good new habits into your life and getting rid of the bad ones and kind of thinking about how you want to come out of Ramadan at the end of it and resume your life. So having said that, let's continue on with our discussion of the 3 levels of fasting as explained by Imam Ghazali. So I kind of made this little diagram to display the levels that we've talked about. Level 1 was the legal definition of fasting: no food, no drink, and relations. That's right at the bottom of the ringer there, right at the bottom of the ladder. That's the base minimum that you can do in order to have it even qualified as a fast. Number 2 we discussed was the fasting of the special people, right? The khusus, special fasting. This is the level that we need to get to if we're at level 1. And obviously, I drew it as a ladder, not as a 3 buckets over there, because I wanted to make us understand that it's a spectrum. There are several steps in the middle of each one of these levels, sub levels if you want to call them. And this involves leaving sins on top of level 1, leaving sins, worrying about acceptance of the fast at iftar time, and also not overeating at iftar or suhoor time. And we discussed some of the details about this, that the mu'min is always worried about the acceptance of his or her deeds. And this is the sifa of the mu'min. They're always worried because they realize and they are very cognizant and very aware of the defects and the shortcomings that are present in their deeds. They realize that they haven't fasted the way they should have fasted. They realize that they weren't able to fulfill the right of fasting and the right of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He deserves to be worshipped. And they realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has absolutely no need for these things from us. Right? So it's up to Him whether or not He accepts them. And we have immense hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on the nusus in the Quran where He mentions His rahmah, His mercy, His forgiveness, and His afu, His overlooking of faults, and etc. And at the same time, we're also worried about the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ali, Al-Ghani. He is free of need of anything that we have to offer Him. And He is far beyond and transcendent of anything that we could even think of offering Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we also discussed the fact that making dua right after an ibadah or as it's about to finish is a window of opportunity to have our du'as accepted. And the proof we gave for this was the fact that Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail alayhi salam were making dua at the time of completion or as they were building the Kaaba. He said, Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas samiul alim. They were asking for acceptance of that deed that they were just performed. Not only that, they also made several other du'as, like asking for the Prophet ﷺ to be sent amongst the people of Mecca. And we can see the result of those du'as, of those accepted du'as. Not only that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserved those du'as in the Quran to be recited till the Day of Judgment. So similarly, whenever we end some act of ibadah, some sort of sacrifice that we make for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the time to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have our dua accepted. And also not overeating, we discussed that it brings about laziness. And it also undoes, if that's a word, the good work that we did all day long in suppressing our nafs. When we overfeed it, we kind of regrow the nafs back to its original strength. Level 3, which is mentioned over here as a summary, is protecting the heart from ghayrullah. Protecting the heart from having thoughts that lead one to be distracted from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at the top, I've got this little insignia or logo over there. And for those of us that recognize it, it's the insignia of the Navy SEALs. Right? In other words, if you can reach this level, it's like you're an elite, like the elite of the elite, the top of the top, the creme de la creme. And Imam Ibn al-Jawzi doesn't mention too much about this in his book, actually. He just mentions level 3, Sawmu khusus il-khusus, the special of the special, like the elite. Is fasting of the heart from base thoughts, even having bad thoughts, right? You're having a bad thought about someone or having lustful thoughts. Anything that distracts one from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and guarding it against anything except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is like the final frontier, right? Where initially we just guarded ourselves from falling into haram, doing things that we're not supposed to do during the fast, right? And that was just at the level of actions. External actions. Now we've reached that level, inshallah, where we're able to protect the heart as well. Like at a spiritual level, we're able to fast spiritually, right? And the ayah that I presented here is from Surah An-Nur. رِجَالٌ لَا تُلْهِيهِمْ تِجَارَةٌ وَلَا بَيْعٌ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَإِقَامِ الصَّلَاةِ وَإِيتَاءِ الزَّكَاةِ يَخَافُونَ يَوْمًا تَتَقَلَّبُ فِيهِ الْقُلُوبُ وَالْأَبْصَارُ. That there are such men, right, Rijal, real men, whom no trade or sale makes neglectful of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're out there doing their business, they're out there at their jobs, they're out there, washing the dishes or, cleaning the house or whatever it is that people do, right? And none of these things distract their hearts, distract them from remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while they're doing it. Right? It's the ultimate multitasking. Right? Oftentimes we're multitasking during salah, for example, where we're praying, where our hands are doing one thing and our body is doing one thing, but our heart is somewhere else. It's multitasking, is doing something else. Astaghfirullah. This is the correct way to multitask, which is that your hands are busy with the work of the dunya, right? You're doing your job, you're doing your chores, etc. But your heart is busy remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, you reach such a level that is described here that nothing can distract the heart from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that stage. It's like you're permanently in that state of remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? This is ihsan, where everything that you're doing is in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. And Imam al-Jawzi mentions that the details of this are to be mentioned somewhere else. Right? In other words, it's kind of too advanced to be mentioned in his book. I feel that that's what he's trying to say over there. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to reach this level. Right? As just merely describing it makes one long for it. And if we never know about these things, how will we ever aspire to them? This is kind of the reason why I like to mention these things, to say at least we should know what lies beyond our current capabilities. If there's any of the listeners that have reached this level, Mubarak to you, make dua for us as well. Now, moving on, in the same book, Imam Ghazali mentions about 10 or so inner dimensions of reciting the Quran, things that we should be doing, spiritually speaking, while reciting the Quran. And I want to go over these with all of us so we can all benefit from them. And number one is understanding the greatness of the kalam. The kalam means speech. Understanding the greatness of the speech and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has enabled us to comprehend its meanings. Allahu Akbar Kabira. And I have a picture of an ant down there, which you may be wondering why. And the reason is that when my teacher is trying to describe the greatness of the Quran and how great the speech is, he uses an example that involves an ant, and I'd like to share that with you today. He mentions that imagine if you met someone and you asked him what is he doing nowadays, and he said, I'm writing a book. It's like, oh, mashallah, you're authoring a book. What's it about? He tell you it's a book of guidance, the guidelines about how to live. So, oh, okay, mashallah. Who is the target audience? Because every book has a target audience, right? It's not every book is written for everyone. Even in the Quran, it mentions Huda lil Muttaqin, that is guidance for the people that have taqwa. So, who are you writing this book to? As guidance. Who is it guidance for? He says, those ants that live in my backyard, it's for them. And you essentially are flabbergasted. You're shocked. You say, what? You're writing a book for the ants that live in your backyard? How are they ever going to even comprehend a single letter of what you're trying to tell them? It's like, they don't know how to read. They live in little ant hills. They're so puny. They're so different from you, right? They have worker ants. They have queen ants. They're insects, and they're a completely different species from you. How are you ever going to communicate with them? How are they ever going to comprehend the beautiful gems that you're dropping in this book of yours? How is a puny ant brain going to figure this out? Right? And if you look at it, Allahu Akbar, there are so many things that are common between us and the ant, right? The ant has eyes, like in the picture, right? It has legs. We have legs. It eats. We eat. It lives. It dies, right? It has a house. We have a house. And yet, if you compare Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us, to humans, we are completely different. We eat, we drink. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need to eat. He doesn't need to drink. We sleep. He doesn't sleep. We're a completely different creation. He is the creator. We are stuck in space and time. He is free of space and time. He is absolutely transcendent. And we are lowly creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet, He, out of His infinite mercy and blessing, gifted us His speech, His book. Not only that, but He enabled our brains and our puny little hearts to actually understand it. Think about that, right? It's so difficult to imagine how an ant could ever understand what we advanced beings, advanced creations are telling them. But imagine how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has enabled our brains and our intellect and our hearts to actually understand and grasp the meanings of His beautiful speech. Something mind-boggling. It's something amazing. It's something miraculous. And it's something that's been given to us through the interface of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahu Akbar. And if we were to understand how great this speech was, right, how great the Quran was. An Abi Sa'id رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول الرب عز وجل من شغله القرآن وذكري عن مسألتي أعطيته أفضل ما أعطي السائلين وفضل كلام الله على سائر الكلام كفضل الله على خلقه. Allahu Akbar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that whoever is too busy with the Quran for remembering me and asking me, right, making dua to me, he's too busy reciting and learning and memorizing Quran to make dua, then I shall give him more than what I give to those who ask, those that are making dua, right? Because he's involved with something so much greater, right? And the virtue of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's speech, and this is the part that I wanted to specifically mention today, the virtue of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's speech over the speech of others, over any other speech, over anything anyone could write or say or make a blog on or make a vlog on or report on the news, is like the virtue, is like the superiority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over his creation. The same way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is transcendent and way beyond his creation, the same way the Quran, the speech of Allah, is way more transcendent and way beyond the speech of anything anyone could say. Think about that. If we realize that, would we waste our time, excessive time reading news and books and articles and whatnot? If we understood that, why are we wasting our time with these half lies and things that people don't know? If we realize how great the Quran was, we would spend much more time reading it. Yes, we would spend much more time reading the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than catching up on our WhatsApp messages and emails and so on and so forth. And I mean, imagine if someone, your dear friend, sent you a message on WhatsApp, right? And it happened to be, let's say, in, I don't know, Portuguese. And you knew it was from your friend, and he was a very important friend. You would spare no effort in translating that message and understanding it and figuring it out. The Quran was given to us in the Arabic language, beautiful Arabic language, clear Arabic language. How much time do we spend trying to figure it out, even though we know it's from our Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How much effort have we exerted to figure out what it's trying to tell us? And the Quran, subhanallah, is a living miracle. Why do I say this? عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما من الأنبياء نبي إلا أعطي ما مثله آمن عليه البشر. That every prophet was given miracles because of which people believed in them, right? They brought iman. وإنما كان الذي أوتيت وحيا أوحاه الله إلي فأرجو أن أكون أكثرهم تابعا يوم القيامة. Sorry, the writing's a bit small there as well. Every prophet was given miracles because of which people believe. But what I have been given is divine inspiration, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed to me. So I hope that my followers will outnumber the followers of the other prophets on the day of judgment, on the day of resurrection. Meaning what? Every prophet was given some kind of miracle. For example, Musa alayhi salam, right? And I had the picture of like a sea parting over there. It's something amazing, right? And people that saw that, right? People saw the miracles of Musa alayhi salam, the staff turning into a big snake and swallowing up the others, magic and stuff, and the camel of the she camel of Salih alayhi salam, and all the different miracles that the Anbiya ever performed. They were kind of for the people. They were for the people at the time. Yes, we believe in them, absolutely. But it's different when you see it yourself. لَيْسَ الْخَبْرُ كَالْمُعَايَنَةِ. Like seeing is believing, right? As they say. Those people saw it, they witnessed it with their own eyes, and they were able to see it. And we, unfortunately, cannot see those miracles. I cannot see the staff of Musa alayhi salam do its thing, right? I cannot see the Red Sea part. I cannot see the she camel of Salih alayhi salam come out from the mountain. I cannot see all of these things. I cannot see Ibrahim alayhi salam get saved from the fire. But I can reach out and interact with a living miracle, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the miracle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is to remain till the day of judgment. Yes, it is a miracle. Yes, we need to spend time with it and interact with it and realize the beautiful things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in there. We realize how great it is, we would spend more time with it, interacting with it, memorizing it, learning it, teaching it, so on and so forth. Right? And through this, the Quran, the miracle of the Quran, the Prophet had hoped that the people, right, there would be more of us on the day of judgment as believers, because more people would be able to witness this miracle, as this would be a miracle that would last till the day of judgment. It wouldn't be a temporary miracle for only those that were present to see, but rather it would last till the day of judgment. If only we realized what is sitting on our bookshelf. If only the Hufaz realized what was sitting in their chest. If only we realized what a blessing we've been given and how we can really use it to our advantage. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to understand the greatness of the Quran. May He allow us to interact with it in a way that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May He allow it to memorize it and preserve it and to act upon it in a way that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Please make sure you remember this humble slave in your du'as. If you've benefited from these spirituality bites, there's only a few days left. I ask that you, or even if you haven't benefited, Allahu Akbar, I ask that you keep this humble servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your du'as and the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.